Thank you for coming to Healthy Mindset Miracles. My name is Tanisha, and we have a special guest named Gabby. Gabby is a licensed clinical social worker and a somatic experiencing practitioner with over 8 years of clinical experience helping women through burnout, anxiety, depression, stress, and trauma. We definitely need to hear this, don't we, ladies? So, Gabby has a bachelor's in social work and psychology, a master's in social work, and her somatic experiencing practitioner certificate for somatic therapy. She has helped over thousands, hundreds, probably thousands at this point, of women in her clinical practice, changing their relationship with burnout, and teaches practical tools for nervous system healing while continuing to do her own healing work. Gabby has an amazing experience to share with you guys. And Gabby, I am so excited to hear this story. Welcome to Healthy Mindset Miracles. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share my story as well.
So let's talk about that story. So you
Yeah,
have had your own burnt out experience and anxiety and stuff. What were you doing that caused this burnout?
I've actually had multiple experiences of burnout throughout my career. I have had anxiety since I was little, and it really manifested during college and then post college. That's where I really
Mm.
noticed. I was like, I am a perfectionist, I'm an overachiever, and I am so anxious. I mean, I had to get straight A's in college. If I didn't, when I got my first B, I cried.
Oh,
I was
goodness.
like, wow, this is intense. And so when I graduated with my master's in social work, I had to do clinical hours to get my license. And so I was working in community mental health, which can be difficult because it's clients who have really big mental health diagnoses. There's a lot going on in their lives, and you're also new in the field. Kind of don't really know what you're doing, right? They throw you in the deep end. They're like, there you go. And I'm like, okay. At the time, I developed chronic pelvic pain. So, like,
Mm.
really severe. I really didn't know what was going on with my body at the time. And so I'm working with high anxiety, chronic pain, and doing group and individual therapy. So, I mean, it got to the point where I had to take a sabbatical. I found a
Mm.
clinic in California that specializes in chronic pelvic pain. And I went there for a week, and I realized that I can't, with the amount of stress and anxiety and pain I was in, I couldn't continue seeing clients because it was just too much. And so this pattern continued. I took a couple months off, then I started back work again, and it got too intense. And then it was just this back and forth that I was doing because my passion is to help people, but I also had a lot going on in my own system, right? So it wasn't until my last job where the burnout became incredible to the point where I was like, I need to change. I
Mm.
still had the chronic pain. It was still pretty intense. I was working on it still, but it was still high, and
Mm.
I was chasing my company's bonus at the end of the year. So if I
Mm.
made a certain amount of money through insurance, I would get, I think it was 5% of whatever I made from the entire year. I was seeing probably 25 to 30 clients a week, which in private practice that's really high. Full-time
Mm.
for a therapist is anywhere from 20 to 25, and I've had colleagues who've seen 40, which I don't know how they did that. That's a lot of people's traumas that you're taking on. So I remember
Yeah.
this was the most like pinnacle part of my burnout story is I had a regular client that was sitting in front of me, and
Mm.
I straight looked at the client and thought in my mind, I do not care what you're saying right now.
Oh, goodness.
Just complete apathy towards the client. I was like, I don't care, get out of my office. Like, I just could care less what you're saying right now. In that moment, it was just shock. I've never had that thought run through my mind when I saw a client ever. And I
Mhm.
went, Gabby, you cannot be in the room right now. This is dangerous at this point. Like, this
Mm.
is not okay. You need to go home, right?
Yeah.
And I went to my supervisor and I was like, I cancel the rest of my clients for the day. I need to go home. And I did
You
take a
need your
couple of days off.
you needed your own mental health saving day. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
I totally can I absolutely 100% can relate to that because a lot of times we take on so much that we forget to take care of our own needs and our own
Exactly.
mindset and our own mental health. And when you're dealing with people like you are, when you're dealing with other people's problems, situations, and challenges, and you're probably an empath like me,
Yeah,
and you're absorbing their feelings, their thoughts, you're absorbing everything that's going on because you're feeling what they're going through. And
exactly.
then we become physically ill. We
Hmm.
physically, mentally take that on and become physically ill ourselves. And I feel like that's exactly what you went through. Explain to
Exactly.
me, like when you were having those anxiety moments, what
Yeah.
did it feel like to you? Because anxiety can be in so many different ways. What did it feel like to you?
Yeah, in general, my anxiety was I was just tight all the time, everywhere. My jaw, my shoulders, obviously my pelvis due to the pelvic pain. Like I was just tight. I was overwhelmed. I was anxious. I was worrying all the time. Like it just felt like I was like this tight ball of like anxiousness, this worry, this like nervousness, like constantly feeling on edge. That was really
Mm,
like the anxiety. And then the burnout was just this feeling of overwhelm. This my overachiever was in my mind being like, you have to do this, right? You have to take care of all
yeah.
these people. You need to make money because eventually you want to move out. But it was just this pressure. You have
Mhm.
to perform. You have to take care of all these people,
So when
even though I
you
did
went home
it.
that day, and because you knew at that moment you hit your breaking point. So
Yes.
when you went home, what did you do to start to heal yourself?
In that day, it wasn't really that day that I really started to do a lot of healing work. It took months
Mm,
for me to get to a point where I said, I can't do this anymore. So the cycle kind of continued for a couple of months of really high anxiety, burnout, and having the chronic pain to the point where I was coming home every night with 8, 9, 10 level of pain. And the only thing that
mm.
helped in that moment was taking a Klonopin every night because that was the only thing that would make me sleep so that
That
I
would
can
be
get back.
actually release that tension in your body.
Right, and the only way I
Wow.
knew how was to take a drug that helped me
Yeah.
sleep so that I can get back to work the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that cycle continued for months until I got to a point where I was like, "What am I doing to myself? Like, I am sacrificing my own mental and physical health for a job."
Mm.
I'm like, "I can't keep doing this."
Well, you thought that you were helping other people because that's what your passion was, is to help other
Exactly.
people with their problems. Because you were so new to it, you were unaware of what it would do to yourself. So you didn't protect your body
Right.
before you went into that. I mean, I did the same thing. So I know exactly what you're feeling. And I
Yeah.
literally had to take some time away, and I had to literally cancel all of my appointments
Yep.
and redirect my mind, go for walks, like literally
Mhm.
take some several days to just relax
Yeah.
because I don't do medication. I used to take Celexa and Klonopin. I did for
Mhm.
2 years straight, but I felt like a zombie
You
the
do.
entire time.
Yeah,
It
it completely shifts the way your nervous system works and your brain works. Like it shuts down certain parts of your brain, and you're just
Mhm.
not the same person when you're on those medications.
No, and you become moody.
You do. Oh my gosh, even more so than like the anxiety that's already there.
Exactly. Like, I remember being so moody, like, I hated everything and everyone, and I didn't like being that way because I knew that wasn't me, and
Exactly.
so I fortunately, my without my doctor's consent, I took myself completely off of it,
Hmm.
and you go through withdrawals
You
and
do.
challenges in that period of time when you're trying to get off of it, but
100%.
I found a naturopathic doctor, because
Mm-hmm.
I had told her, "Look, I don't wanna feel this way anymore, and
Yeah.
I don't wanna take drugs. I don't want to feel like a zombie. I still wanna function like a normal
Mhm.
person. What can I do to be normal again or describe
Right.
normal, but seriously, be myself again?"
Yeah.
And to me, because that's normal to me is being yourself,
Yes.
your true self. And
Hmm.
so she had told me about a vitamin. It's called cope.
Oh,
Zim Zimbiodome, I think is the name of the company. It's through a
okay.
lab, and it's kind of expensive. It's about 50 something dollars for a month's supply, but I can take one bottle of it would probably last me 3-4 months because I don't take it every day. When I
Wow.
first started, I did take it every day. I took
Yeah.
one a day every day, and it helped so much because what it is, and something I learned, is it's got B vitamins and saffron
Mhm.
in it. And saffron is what Indians use to help induce their mood and to make their mood better. And I had learned that I had a vitamin B deficiency. And I didn't know that. And that's what was causing a lot of my challenges. Did you,
Mhm.
through your practice, did you experiencing finding natural health and getting off that medication as well?
I also had to come off of it kind of slowly, right? I spoke to
Mhm.
my doctor and I said, after working with a new coach specifically for the pelvic pain and doing some exposure therapy with myself, after those, because when you heal chronic pain, you get what's called extinction bursts. So the pain gets really high because your brain is basically saying, oh, she understands what's going on here. Let's give her really high pain to like really get her attention. And so you have to go through what's called extinction bursts. And after those happened a lot and I quit my job and moved on from that, I made a decision of also getting off of the Klonopin as well. I was like, I no longer want to be on this medication because I have taken time away from work enough to really focus on breath work and meditation. And like you said, going on walks and doing some
Mhm.
exposure work and having self-compassion for myself and really sitting with my anxiety and sitting with my pain and really being like, hi, I'm here. What do you need to show me? What do I need to learn and heal from? And by doing that, it allowed my brain to soften and my nervous system to soften, right? And then going off of it slowly. I mean, I still have it for kind of emergency, more of like psychological safety at that point, like
Mhm.
just in case, but I really don't take it anymore. And so, kind of supplementing with going outside and getting sunlight, taking vitamin D, taking things for my immune health, really starting to eat healthy and getting rid of processed foods and eating
Mhm.
colorful foods. And for me, what's been really helpful is magnesium
Yes.
because so many, I think 90 some percent of the population is deficient in magnesium. So I take
Mhm.
that every single night. There's a really
Yep.
good brand called Biooptimizers. It has all 7 forms of magnesium in it. So it's all the forms in one. And you take two, I take 2 of them, 2 capsules. So that has been
Where
pivotal.
do you
And
get that from?
I get it at my local health food store, but I'm sure you can order it on their website as well.
We'll have to get more information on that for our listeners, and we'll put it
Yeah.
in the description for them because that sounds like something I need to take. But I also know that magnesium helps you with your sleep process as well. So
Mhm.
you've been sleeping better since you've been taking it?
Yes, I have that. And there's also, I don't know the exact same brand, but there's also an herb that I take for sleep as well that also helps. It has a little bit of melatonin in it because I know sometimes when you take a lot of melatonin, it can actually prevent you from sleeping. I learned
Mhm.
that from a medical intuitive that I worked with years ago. She's like, you only want to take about a milligram of melatonin, and for some people, it could actually have the opposite effect and make you not sleep. I'm like, oh, that's helpful since we're already producing melatonin at night. So
That's good to know because a lot of people, they do go to melatonin. Sometimes they take 5 to 10 milligrams
that's
just
a
to help them
lot.
sleep. And yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And I've heard of that happening. I don't take it because I'm afraid if I sleep too hard, I'll probably like not not feel rested in the morning. Cause you ever feel like whenever you get too much sleep, you're still when you wake up, you're groggy, you feel like
Absolutely.
you hadn't slept at all. I'm afraid that's what might happen if I ever do melatonin because I
Mhm.
do sleep pretty good. There's just
Yeah.
I just have to go to bed at a certain time. If I go to bed late after 12, I don't
Yeah.
sleep at all. I'm like I know for the last 3 days, I've like Saturday I was up till 2:30 in the morning. Sunday I
Ooh.
was up till 1 in the morning. Last night I was up till 12. I'm like, "Okay, I gotta get back." But last night I actually went to bed early. It's just that I was on my phone and I know better. I know better.
We all know better, don't we? We all
I
know
know
better.
better. So I have to be more disciplined. And that's the hardest things for us too,
It's
is when we are overcoming these challenges such as anxiety, depression, stuff, we tend
Mhm.
to medicate ourselves mentally with our phones or with
Yes.
things that aren't good for our minds. My husband tells me all the time, I really wish you wouldn't scroll so much. I'm like, yeah, me too. Like, it's something
I
I'm
know.
working on.
Same. I think for me recently, I'm just on my phone. It's not even on Instagram or Facebook or social media. It's just games that I play or Hulu or all these things. I'm like, I need to put my phone down. And I've been really working on this, putting the phone down, grabbing a book, going for a walk, just doing something that does not involve my phone. But we're all
Yes.
guilty of it, right? It's so hard because it's just so easy.
I was doing so good up until this past weekend, but I think what happens too is it might be a stress copingism is what I've been analyzing it, because I feel like yesterday I did go to bed early because I knew I needed to, but I wanted to de-stress, so I just picked up my phone and sat there and just scrolled through anything, my emails and my social media, and scroll just, I mean, there was nothing even to look at. I just was
Exactly.
looking at stuff, and
I
I
think
think
it's,
it's one of those stress mechanisms.
I agree with you because we as humans, we don't like doing hard things and we don't like change or we don't like creating habits because it's hard. And so
Mhm.
it's easier to pick up our phone versus, oh, I'm going to take 5 minutes to meditate. I'm going to go outside for a walk. I'm going to go exercise. I'm going to go to a yoga class. I'm going to do some breath work. I'm going to put up some post-it notes with affirmations. Like that stuff is hard for us. So it's much
Mhm.
easier to go grab our phone because we're distracting ourselves versus really going inside and noticing what our thoughts are doing or what our sensations in our bodies are doing.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of
I
it too.
I
I'm still learning myself.
I totally agree. It is a struggle, but I'm working on it, and I know that I'm going to conquer it. There's going to be moments, and here's the other thing: is I accept that there are going to be moments when I'm going to slip, and I'm not going to beat
Of
myself
course.
up over it. And I didn't beat myself up over what I did last night. I just woke up this morning going, "Yeah, girl, do better tonight."
Mm-hmm.
Literally,
Yeah.
I have to tell
Right.
myself that, like, you got to do better. And but I think for me, like, I wanted to pick up a book, but picking up a book would have required me to think, and I didn't want to think.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Right.
like, maybe I do that because I needed a mental break of not
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle, but
It
we're gonna get
is.
through it, right, Gabby? We're gonna teach people to
We're
get
gonna
through
get
it
through
too.
it. I think one of the biggest things that I learned from my current coach that I'm working with is she talks about self-compassion all the time. And this
Mhm.
notion of just being gentle and compassionate with ourselves. So for example, when you did pick up your phone last night, you made a choice that in that moment was the best for you. And if we beat ourselves up over that, we're just making it harder for ourselves, right? Versus just saying like, maybe in this moment I need to unplug and this is my way of unplugging. And in a different
Mhm.
moment, maybe my way of unplugging is going to be to pick up that book, right?
Right.
And we don't want to be nasty towards ourselves because that doesn't help with how we feel, our self-esteem or self-worth. Like we're humans and we're all just trying to get through the best that we can.
That's exactly right. And I think when we tell ourselves some affirmations, like, hey, I know I can do better, and tomorrow I am going to do better, and I'm going to push forwards and be my own cheerleader, because here's the thing, if we're not cheering for ourselves, who is?
Exactly.
And so we have to be our 100% cheerleader of ourselves. I
Mm-hmm.
tell my friends all the time, and I need to do this as well, but I'm actually pretty good at telling my affirmations on my own. But some of my friends are like, "Oh, when I wake up in the morning, I don't even want to think about anything or say anything." And because I tell them, make sure when you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you say positive affirmations to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
beautiful, I'm strong, I'm smart, I can conquer anything I do today. Today I'm going to finish all my chores. Today I'm going to be able to do my processes, or focus on that writing that I wanted to do, or whatever it is that
Yeah.
you have on your agenda for that day. Speak out that you're going to accomplish it. And then I had somebody say to me, it's sometimes hard to remember to do that. I'm like, okay, then record yourself saying it and hit play. Go take a
Right.
shower. And if you can't say it to yourself, at least listen to yourself saying it.
Yes. One of my favorite ways, I actually have them right in front of me too, is just post-it notes. I tell clients this all the time. I'm like, take post-it notes and write down whatever those affirmations are and stick them everywhere that you're going to see it. In your
Mhm.
bathroom, in your bedroom, right where you wake up, in the mirror, down where you brush your teeth, where you're getting your coffee, right? Because that way it's right there. right in front of you. And the cool thing is that you don't even have to read them because your
Right.
subconscious is reading them as you're passing them. I mean, of course, it's better to
Absolutely.
read them because then you're getting more practice of practicing those affirmations, right? But just them being there, or I've even told clients to take like not the Sharpie, but what you write on a whiteboard, can't think of the name right now,
Dry
um,
eraser.
a dry erase marker and do it on your mirror, or even lipstick. Go get Wet n Wild dollar lipstick if you want to make it cute and write it on your mirror. Like there are ways of doing it where it's right there and it's easier than to practice them.
I love that. I'm gonna have to start doing a dry eraser one on my mirror. I think I need to do that. That's awesome because I have a mirror, like a makeup mirror that has
Yeah,
like it folds out so I can put my affirmations on the side because I only look in the
perfect.
middle. That's like perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna go do that. So you're
Yeah,
gonna see me this afternoon, like writing on my mirror.
I love that. Yeah, and
I love that idea.
the other thing about affirmations is also sometimes they can be difficult for people because our brain has kind of a bias. So if you're
Mhm.
saying like I love myself and you really don't, your brain's going to be like, really? You really love yourself, right? So sometimes it's easier to start with like I'm open to believing that, and then you fill in the blank because then your brain's like,
Yeah.
oh, that feels easier to believe than
Wow.
this thing that your brain's like, we really don't believe that right now in this moment, right?
So
So
true.
so you can kind of like switch it up in that way if affirmations are difficult in that way. It's becoming easier to believe that, and then you fill in the blank.
That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing that because that is super true. And I don't think people realize that sometimes when you do affirmations, it feels like you're lying to yourself.
Exactly.
And if you're actually saying something that's more realistic, it's easier to work through it. So thank
Right.
you, Gabby. That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
So let's talk about what you've been doing with your work as
Hmm.
far as helping women with their burnouts, their anxiety, the
Yeah.
challenges that they're going through. And I say there, but it's really not theirs. It's just things that they're dealing with. Gabby and I were talking
Exactly.
before we started hitting record about how I'm very big about not saying my anxiety or my depression. And I slip up, everybody slips up, because we're so used to claiming things that
Yes.
we have. But if we can get out of that mindset of saying my and stop owning it, it'll be easier
Hmm.
for us to find a solution to it so we no longer have it. I know for me, when I stopped claiming and owning anxiety, depression, it was easier for me to heal through those things. And now, if they rear their ugly heads, because let's face it, they still do,
They're
they
going
still,
to.
yeah, they still like peek their ugly heads around, especially when you're having weak moments in life. And
Hmm.
the number one thing that helps you through that is first recognizing it,
Yes.
recognizing that it's there. The second thing you do, what are you going to do about it? Are you
Hmm.
going to allow it to take control of you, or are you going to take control of it? And number three, what's the solution? How do you have a
Exactly.
solution to get rid of it? And so, Gabby, you have your own tips as well. So let's hear them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I always tell clients, like, it's not your anxiety, right? It's not my this. It's just something that we're going through. It's our nervous system. It's just our nervous system that's dysregulated, and there are ways to regulate it. And there are so many things that people can do with burnout. I think my example was a very extreme example of burnout. And so luckily I was supported by my parents and can still live at home, but I know not everyone can do that. And so it doesn't have to be like people have to quit their jobs. I think there are these
Mhm.
myths about burnout that like, oh, vacation's going to help. It certainly might for a week, but you're going to come back to work and then be having the same problems, right? You don't necessarily
Mhm.
have to quit your job. I have worked with so many women that I've helped them switch departments. Some of them have gotten a different job. Some of them have talked to their boss and set up some boundaries, right? Hey, I need to work less hours or I need to work from home. Whatever those things are, it's really starting to gain awareness of where in our life do we feel burnt out, right? Because
Mhm.
it's burnout is more than just career, right? It's a big part of it, but it could be you're burnt out in your relationship, in your marriage, parenting, finances. Like there's so many areas that I think we forget that we can be burnt out in. So gaining
Right.
awareness is step number one, getting a good inventory of where we feel that sense of overwhelm and burnout.
Absolutely. And then what is your give some ideas of how to combat those burnout moments.
Yeah. Burnout burnout is difficult because it really is kind of a longer process because it's our nervous system kind of going into shutdown, right? So if
Mhm.
we talk about fight, flight, freeze in our nervous system when
Mhm.
we have a stressful situation going on, we either are
Mhm.
gonna fight, flight, or freeze. So burnout
Mhm.
is a state of freeze. It's actually not a state, right? Because stress usually is about 20 to 30 minutes that we're supposed to experience stress. Burnout is a prolonged state of stress. Burnout happens
Mhm.
for a very long time, over and over and over, without us doing anything about it. And so, the primary way and how I work with people is again to get that inventory and start to make little changes in
Mhm.
those areas that we feel burnt out in. And then after that is when we really start to give tools of how to regulate the nervous system. So my favorite is like learning how to meditation, breath
Mm.
work, putting your hand on your heart and taking a couple of really deep, slow breaths and noticing where you feel your breath the most, right? Going outside for walks, just different somatic practices. Like, what does it feel like to sit can even
Mhm.
help in that moment, right? Feeling your feet on the ground, right? Feeling what the back of your body feels like. Because I think sometimes we focus on the front of our body, right? Where we're breathing our chest and our belly. But what about our back, the back of our body? So different kind of grounding somatic things that's going to teach your brain and your nervous system that you're safe and okay, even though your environment might not feel that way.
Right. That's really good things to share. There's the biggest thing that I love is putting your feet on the ground. When you go outside barefooted, your foot in the
Yes.
grass, and you just are present with yourself, with the earth, with your breath, with the breeze coming through your hair, and you're just
Mhm.
acknowledging your surroundings. That's huge. And I know
It's
for
so
me,
big.
it's really helped me a lot. Yeah. I know there was a couple of times, I don't know if you've ever had these, but I have had these. And thankfully, they're few and far between. But have you ever been woken up in the middle of the night, full fledged anxiety?
Yep.
So,
Sweating, all of it.
yes. So, and it feels like you're dying. It feels like
Yep.
you're having a heart attack. And
Mhm.
that's happened to me where I woke up in the middle of the night, like 3, 4 in the morning, and I am sweating profusely. And I
Yep.
don't sweat. I am not a person that sweats.
I wish.
But I mean, a normal thing if you go running or you
Of
exercise, you're
course.
gonna sweat then. But like, I don't just like I just don't sweat. And so, but when I wake up and I am sweating profusely, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Mhm.
What I have come to terms with after this happened like 3, 4 times. Like the first time it's very alarming. It literally you feel like you need to go to a hospital
You feel
because
like you're gonna
something is
die,
wrong.
really.
Yeah,
That's what it feels
something
like.
is wrong.
Mhm.
Your heart is racing really heavy, really high, your breath is
Yep.
short, the whole 9 yards. This is what I did. I went outside because I knew grounding was super important. So I went outside and I took my bare bottom and I sat on the ground in the grass with my feet and my butt planted.
Yep.
And I put my arms over my knees and I sat in that position where I'm hugging my knees with my butt and my feet planted with my head down. And then I started focusing on my breathing,
Yep.
started focusing on the coolness of the air of the night, started focusing on where my feet were, where my butt was. And then I just once I started doing that, I started willing my heart rate to slow down. Okay, I'm okay. I'm not dying.
Mhm.
Everything's fine. My heart rate's going down. I feel fine. I'm breathing. The sweat's stopping. Like literally, I have to tell myself and walk myself through this.
Yeah.
And it had worked every single time. So it's crazy how you can actually mentally help yourself come out of those states and you don't even know what I don't even know why it happens when you sleep. Like you can wake up in the middle of the night with that happening. Have you
Yeah,
ever figured
your
that out?
your brain or subconscious probably thinks there's some kind of threat because that's really what it is. It's a threat response, which our threats these days aren't physical. Like we're not getting attacked by lions anymore. They're all mental, usually emotional threats these days, right?
Mhm.
But what you did, what a beautiful job of giving yourself messages of safety, which is all that we need to heal our nervous system. It's messages of safety, is telling your brain and your nervous system through thinking it and somatically that I am okay, right? One
Yeah.
of my favorite ways to do that is just putting my hand on my heart, which is it's actually lights up the part of your brain as if you're getting a hug, and just taking deep breaths and being like, I am okay. I am safe, or I am safe enough in this moment. I am safe enough in this moment, and just taking deep breaths. Again, the quickest way to calm your nervous system is just taking slow, deep breaths. And at first, this is hard. I remember when I went to that clinic that I mentioned earlier in the podcast, and the psychologist was teaching us how to meditate, and it's that he was teaching us that sensation of when you exhale, that kind of like that you feel your body kind of sinking. And I remember after a minute, I was like, okay, we're done, right? Like, we're not going to do this anymore. Like, we did a minute of it. Like, I'm fine, right? We're good. And he kept going for 20 minutes. And I thought I was going to crawl out of my skin because one, I was really anxious. Two, I was in a lot of pain. I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this. Like, this is impossible. Until it took me a year and a half, twice a day, every day, to learn how to meditate for 45 minutes. And it saved and changed my life.
Yes. I love that. Oh my gosh, Gabby, this is awesome. I know my listeners are going to get so much out of this, especially those that need to hear these stories. You just reminded me of the times when I get up in the morning and have to go sit in my hammock outside and like just get away from my phone, get away from everything, and just close my eyes and just meditate on that moment, that presence that I'm in. My husband and I were having a conversation the other day, and I was telling him that I'm trying to remember the conversation that led to the statement that he made. But we were talking about how when you look in your past, it could cause anxiety. When you look in the future, it can cause anxiety. But if you're in the present moment and just focus on that present moment, it can pull you out of both those areas. And it can make you realize that at this moment, what can I do to help make the next minute better? Not the next year, not the next month, not the next week. What can I do to make the next minute better? And when you can control that and to learn how to be in the moment, it's a huge game changer.
Right?
I love that we're talking about this.
Because in reality, we only have this exact moment. The future hasn't happened. The past has already happened. So we only have this moment. And once we learn to be in it, and again, you're going to get distracted. When I first started meditating, my brain was like a ping pong ball. It kept back and forth, back and forth. Like, it was all over the place until I trained my brain to come back to my breath every single time. And it was frustrating as all get out because you can't focus because you're so anxious and your body's giving you this sensation, your mind's giving you this thought, until you train your brain to come back to your breath every time, and it gets easier and easier. And maybe you start off with 10 seconds and then you get up to 20 and then you get up to a minute, and then it gets easier and easier to sit with whatever is happening in the moment and being okay with it.
There is an app called Calm, CALM. You know about that app?
I use it every day. I use it every day. I do the daily Calm every morning, and I use their sleep stories when I fall asleep at night. I love that app.
We should definitely tell our listeners. I'm going to give you guys a link to Calm, because Calm has been huge on helping me learn how to do my breaths. Because there's a breath portion of it where it teaches you to exhale for 6 seconds, then hold it, then inhale for 6 seconds and hold it, and then you exhale slowly and hold it. Like, I never even knew that holding it was a huge thing in your breathing techniques until I got that app. And so I would have never been able to learn how to do proper breathing techniques if it wasn't for learning from that app. Did the same thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, I first started to meditate with that practice I learned from the psychologist at the clinic, but then eventually I just got into the Calm app, and it's nice because they're guided meditations. It's hard to meditate on your own. It's nice when someone's telling you, okay, yeah, breathe because that's box breathing, right? Breathing in for 4 or 6, holding, and then breathing out. But there's so many different ways. She does body scans, she does muscle relaxation. There's so many different kinds of meditations on there. And a tip for your listeners, usually around Black Friday, they will do a sale where I think it's probably $160 where you get lifetime access. And it's beautiful. That's what I did. I just paid the like 160 or whatever it was, and I never have to pay for the Calm app ever again, especially because I use it every day. So it's worth it. It's usually around Black Friday when that happens.
I did not even know that, and now I'm going to wait for. I'm going to like put that on my calendar to remind myself to look into that. But I also know there is a free version, you guys. So those of you who don't want to pay for it, there is a free version. It doesn't have as much as what you can get with the Lifetime, because the Lifetime literally is a lifesaver.
Yeah.
But you do have a free version app as well.
There's also other apps as well. There's Insight Timer that's also free. And then there's a couple other ones if you just look on your app store and type in meditation apps. There's so many now. And you just pick one that suits you, especially like with the voice, because I know sometimes people don't like certain voices. So you just have to pick one that you like and kind of go from there and experiment with it.
I totally agree. Another thing that I started doing is my watch was one of those digital watches that kept track of my heartbeat. And I literally had to stop wearing my watch. I still wear it every once in a while. Now that I'm calmer, I wear it. But when I was going through the anxiety and I would watch my heart rate jump up to 120 beats per minute, or at one point, there was one time it went up to 160. Like I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you guys realize that when you watch that, because you see your heart rate so high, it'll actually amplify the anxiety that you're going through. And so if you have a watch that tells you what your heart rate is in the moment that you're dealing with an anxiety, get it off. Don't watch your heart rate. Focus not on your heart rate, but focus on your breathing, focus on your grounding, focus on your meditation, because that's going to help you way more. When that time that happened, when my heart rate went up to 160, first thing, I was pissed off. I was really mad at the situation, which amplified the anxiety within me. I went to go get in my car, and I literally could feel my arms going numb, my face going numb, my breathing was off, and I happened to look down at my watch, and it said my heart rate was at 160, and I was alarmed. And I had two choices. I could either go to the hospital and probably make it worse, or I get out of my car and go into my house, and this is what I did. I got out of my car. I went into my house. I didn't care who I was mad at. I was knowing that at that moment I needed to focus on me. And I went into my house. I went face down onto my floor. And this is the craziest thing, but I started to do push-ups.
Yep.
Because what happened, and I'm not saying push-ups to where I was, the kind of push-ups I did, where I got onto my all fours, my knees and my hands, and I just started pushing my body with my arms from the floor back and forth, just so I would force myself to start breathing.
Well, and also that's great because you were angry. So you were pushing, you were using that energy, that angry energy, that fight response to push, right?
Yes.
And that's a super helpful way, especially when there's anger or rage, is to do some sort of like, you can even go up against the wall and push into the wall very slowly to kind of discharge some of that energy.
Yes.
I love that you did that. It's too.
I didn't even know that was something I needed to do. It was just something I naturally did because all I knew is I needed to save myself and stop my heart rate. So I needed to calm down, and I knew if I laid down, it would make it worse. So I had to do something to keep my brain occupied to cause my heart rate to come down. And it worked. It was a matter of like 15 minutes, but it worked. And I will never forget that day. And then at that moment, I was like, dang, I'm magical. I can do anything now.
Well, you know, the beautiful thing that you did was you listened to your body. I think people forget that we intuitively know what to do a lot of the times. It's just our mind that gets in the way. But you listened to your body and what you needed, which is so cool. I wish more people can. I think this is the process of becoming more aware of ourselves, becoming aware of what does your body need in that moment. And if you allow your body to answer, it's going to give you the best thing it needs in that moment.
I 100% agree. We're actually running out of time. I just looked at the time. So I want to talk about your website. You have a website
Yeah.
called Gabby, and I can't pronounce your last name. Say it for
Winneck.
me. Winneck. Okay. So
Yep.
Gabby Winneck Coaching. So that's GABBYWNEK coaching.com. Gabby, what will my listeners see on your website?
Yeah. So it's really just all my services that I offer, my coaching services, and there's an about me. So you get to really get an in-depth of my story, even more than what we talked about today. And then how to work with me. What do I offer in my program? What are the specific steps that I take people through in order to really help with the burnout and give them their own unique formula for tools and techniques to really regulate the nervous system and decrease the anxiety that people are going to use really for the rest of their lives.
That is so beautiful. Gabby, you are a breath of fresh air. I love the fact that you've used your personal experience to help other people with challenges they've had. Where are you at now with your mental health and the struggle of burnout and anxiety?
Yeah, I created my coaching business because I knew that there had to be a better way of helping people without seeing 30 clients a week. And so this coaching, my coaching business is that way of helping people and doing what I think I was set on this planet to do, is to help people just in a different way. And
Mhm.
because I've taken so much time to really work on my anxiety and my burnout and my pain, I am probably 80%, 85, 90% there. And I'm still working on my own things as well. And I'm really taking the time to take care of myself in order to take care of other clients, which I wasn't doing before.
And that is amazing. So you've taken all of the information that you learned through college, through your experiences of working with clients, and you've been able to develop something that's much bigger and greater to helping people at your own pace, but also showing them, and look, you can do it and they can do it too.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Because I've had my coaches all healed from chronic pain. So if they can do it, I can too. So if people feel burnt out or anxious, again, I had a coach that told me, she goes, "You have two arms?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "That you have two legs?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, then you're not special. You can heal just like everyone else." And I'm like, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Right? We are special in our own ways. And we also can heal. If other people can do it, so can we.
I'm the type of person that I would rather follow somebody who has experienced it themselves and be able
Exactly.
to help me walk through what it is that they were able to walk through so that I can heal. It's all about going after somebody who has experience opposed to somebody who just learned from a book.
Exactly.
It's a completely different experience of being with somebody that has already gone through it, because
They
they know
understand.
100%, yeah, they
Yeah,
understand, they know, they when you're having your resistant moments, they can walk you through those resistant moments because they've already walked that path. I love
exactly.
that. And Gabby, you are the epitome of somebody who's experienced, and yet you have this beautiful smile on your face and willing to
Thank
take those
you.
pains and experiences to help others. And I thank you so much for sharing everything with us.
Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate you holding this space for us and for your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you guys go to her website, and we look forward to hearing more from Gabby in the future. Have a nice day.